it's Jess over here. Today I'm going to talk like friend to friend, but I wanted to make it more casual and I didn't want to get too stressed out about sitting in front of camera and talking to you for like 20 minutes. So I'm going to do my makeup in between. Everything I use will be in the description box, but I'm going to start with the Magic Foundation That's French. I'm not even going to try that, but it's by Charlotte Tilbury in shade 1 and the concealer from Tarte, and I'm going to use my, oh my goodness, what is it? Real Techniques? Yeah, Real Techniques beauty blender kind of thing. Okay, so a lot of people asked me, like a lot of my friends who are thinking about having a baby, why did we decide that this is the right time and why should we have the baby right now? Obviously, before we got pregnant, the situation wasn't as bad as it started to be like in March. Pretty much, we didn't even think about the pandemic. We kind of tried to get pregnant since October of last year and I got pregnant in December. Something like that, and I found out in January that I was already pregnant. Basically, a little background story is that my husband and I, we've never been able to plan anything, like literally anything in our lives. Everything was always kind of decided for us, and we were kind of just trying to go with the flow, if you know what I mean. We started dating back in college, so we couldn't really like live together because he was here in the States. I finished college in Poland. Then we made the decision that we're not going to move in together until we are both financially ready for that. So I moved to Germany to be with my parents and kind of like save money and not really spend on rent or anything. When I came to the States, I was 24 years old, I think, and I had my ticket back home already bought. I had no idea that I'm going to stay here and apply for a green card. So we've been together for already 2.5 years, something like that. And I was just supposed to help my husband move from Florida to his first base in Georgia. And we packed everything, we moved together. But even though I came to the States in like February, I was supposed to go back in March. So yeah, that definitely wasn't planned for me to stay here. And I've never wanted to have this conversation with him over Messenger about getting married. And anytime I would visit him during the college time, we were still so young and like free, and we didn't even think about getting married at this point. Now I'm switching to foundation instead of concealer. I like to apply concealer to the most problematic parts of my face before the foundation, by the way. So anyway, what was I saying? I came here and again, we never talked about getting married. I remember when my husband asked me to just stay in the States, not take my flight back home. And he told me that if I ever feel sad, lonely, or like I just want to go back home, he would buy me the flight ticket. I had no idea he wanted to propose. Then the army told us that we have to move to Texas. Then the army sent us to Europe for deployment. So basically up till like last year, we didn't even make any lifetime decisions like because we felt like we were ready. I just remember our conversation about having children, and we decided that having the baby is going to be like the first thing that we are going to be in control of. I mean, you cannot even fully control that situation. You cannot really plan to get pregnant around this and this time because nature happens, and then you can just hope that this is going to happen. To be honest, I was always wondering like, how do you know this man is the right man to have the baby with and to start a family? I kind of always assumed that conversation is the key to every single problem in life. So I remember asking Russell like, hey, what if we try to have a family and we realize that I'm not able to give it to you because I have problems with getting pregnant, or just our genes like don't really match together? Because you never know. You can try to get pregnant for years and not get pregnant. When he answered, I just knew right away that I found the perfect guy, because he said that we'll just adopt. And I've always wanted to adopt a child, especially if I'm going to have my first baby, my first child, and I realize that I love being a mother. I just want to make sure that I can give this love and this warm feeling to other human on this earth who is not my biological baby, but you can still be somebody's mother even though you didn't give birth to them. So definitely I've always thought about adopting. I was just super excited to find a guy who is not concerned about adoption, and he sees that as one of the possibilities. Another conversation that was really important to me was when I asked him like, hey, what if we get pregnant and then we find out that our baby is disabled? He basically said that it's up to me because it's my body, but he would never abort a child if my life wasn't an issue, like if my life wasn't threatened. Is that how you say it? If it's not, just let me know. The only thing he worries about is my well-being, and he doesn't care about the rest. And if we have a child that has some disabilities, we'll just face it. And if the kid is, I don't know, on a wheelchair, he will just make sure he has the coolest wheelchair in the school, and everyone else is just jealous about how cool the kid is. So that was another like super good answer to me, because I feel like we don't know, we didn't do the blood test on our kid. She will just come to this world and we will see if she's like 100% healthy. But I would never judge my baby for what she or he is. Like, that's my baby. I just love her already, the way she's created, and whatever happens, we again will face it together. But I would never feel like she's worse because she's not perfect in the ideal world kind of way. This is again something that made me realize that I am going to have my future child with a man that I love, with a man who has the same values as I do. And we've talked about all those possibilities, like what if. Then another thing, I've always wanted to have kids before I'm 30 years old, and I knew that I didn't want to have kids in my early 20s, so we've been trying to avoid that. But I realized that I'm 27, I'm going to be 28 when I give birth to her. And this is kind of like the last minute. If I wanted to have both of my children before being 30, I still have the possibility, but at the same time, like, it always felt like it's so far away, and I just realized, actually he made me realize that it's almost that time. So it's kind of crazy how fast it's just happening, life I mean. I was always scared of labor, and that was like the biggest joke around our house, like, hey, we can have babies if you can give birth to him or to her, and like, I don't want to do this. Of course that's impossible, that's against the nature, but he would always say something like, yeah, I wish I could help you with that. But I was always super scared of labor. And then I realized when I got pregnant, after the first shock, because of course I was like, oh my god, I have to go through labor. But later on you have so many little things you have to think about that you don't even focus on labor. I don't want to know what's going to happen. I'm just going to face this situation as we progress through this pregnancy, and when it's time, I'll just do it. I have no other choice. She's already inside, she needs to get outside. No matter what happened, my husband would always support me, and at some point he just asked me like, don't you think it's the right time to have kids? Like sometime soon, I'm not saying today, but shouldn't we start thinking about it? And honestly, I feel like I would always look for a reason why I shouldn't get pregnant. Like, I started working a year ago, back in April, and I was happy about waking up every day, having a purpose. Having a child, you kind of need to understand, no matter what you do, your job needs to stop for a second, and you have different priorities. You can still, of course, grow and like be successful, but things will be different. You have a completely new human that you're taking care of. My Laura Mercier. Because my husband started talking about it, I thought like, okay, it's time to think about it and maybe start trying. So I set a doctor appointment back in August, and I really wanted to see this one specific doctor, so the closest appointment was back in October, so I needed to wait like 2 months to get the appointment. And she told me that my cycle is so irregular that it might be difficult for me to get pregnant. Again, we talked about adoption, we talked about our different options, what we can do in case we cannot get pregnant, and I was kind of stressing out about it, but my husband, he just told me like, hey, let's see what happens. If we try for a year, we can try to adopt. If we get pregnant, then great. If not, we got it. Like, we still are going to end up having a full family because that's what we want, and doesn't matter how we get there. And I was taking my vitamins since September, and I was stressing out like October, November, like why I'm not getting pregnant yet, even though usually it takes, honestly, years to get pregnant, and that's normal. Like, there is nothing wrong with you if it takes you longer than 3 months, like it happened to us. But when I found out that I was pregnant, I got so many insecurities, and I realized that everything is going to change now. And yeah, in the beginning you get scared, you are excited, but at the same time you have no idea what's going to happen. It's such a weird feeling. Like, you cannot imagine what is going to go through your head until that moment happens. Again, my husband was just as peaceful, as steady with his emotions as always, and he would give me the support that I needed. And then when we finally thought that this is the right time to have a baby, there was coronavirus outbreak, and this conversation if people should get pregnant or if they should stop trying having a child because you don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, even though the whole world is kind of in a weird spot and nobody knows what's going to happen, I would never take that back. She is already created. Again, she's already perfect the way she is. I already love her, and I cannot imagine my life without her. She was meant to be. She happened at the right time, and doesn't matter what happens out there in the world, there is never the perfect time, the right time. It's all about you making the time to have the baby and finding the right person that you want to have the baby with. Honestly, that's all I really have to say about this situation. It's Anastasia, Beverly Hills, and EcoTools brush. And I know a lot of mamas who are trying to get pregnant like for the longest time ever, and they couldn't, so the baby happened in their life later on, and they are still super happy and satisfied. And basically everyone is different. Don't compare yourself. I know some people dream about having children from really young age, and I wasn't one of them. I was kind of scared to get pregnant. I'm still worried like if I'm going to be a good mom. I kind of hope that my body will just know what to do and my motherhood instinct will just play a huge role in the beginning. I have like zero experience with newborns. Sorry, I would never be able to do my eyebrows and talk at the same time. It's just like science. I'm not trying to make them like identical. They're not twins. They're just sisters. Let me know, what do you think about finding the right time to have children? Did you plan to get pregnant as I did, and how did you prepare? Again, I saw my doctor, I checked if everything's good, I started taking my prenatal vitamins, and I tried to eat healthier, but that's pretty much it. I also talked about adoption with my husband and like what if we have some issues during the time when we are trying. I'm kind of excited to see what happens next. I know that a lot of couples really start to experience problems in the marriage because everything is so different and so new. This is my bronzer from INGLOT, but I travel a lot, so that happened. I don't take this pregnancy for granted. I'm always super thankful. I take it day by day. I don't say like I don't go to church every day and or every Sunday, or I don't really believe in church as an institution, but I believe in God and I believe in His wisdom. I kind of like talk to Him all the time, especially if I go to sleep. I will tell Him what am I thankful for, why it's so important to me that I can experience those kind of things. And I just ask Him for wisdom and patience and understanding of what's going on in the world. I would love to have more answers. I would love to know when I'll be able to go see my family in Poland. I would love to know if my mom can come and visit when I'm going to have my baby girl. But at the same time, I'm not expecting anything. I'm just super thankful for what's already going on and what's already happened. Of course, I want her to be healthy. I want her to be happy with me as a mom. But again, I don't feel like I deserve it because I want it. I feel like it's given and you take as much as the universe gave you. Just trying to be respectful of my body, listen to myself. If I feel sick, I would stay in bed and kind of sleep longer, sleep in. If I don't feel well, I would tell my husband, and he doesn't expect me to do regular stuff at this time of my life because he knows I get super tired really easily and I have a lot of backache, and it's just different time of my life. Like, I've never felt this way ever. Everything's super new and everything is different. Let me know if you have any questions. I just feel super thankful to be healthy. Honestly, I couldn't be any happier. Of course, I would love to work, and my doctor told me that the virus in our population is like 1%, so at 1%, so I can kind of go to work if I really want to. But since they started opening the state, we live in Texas, I'm just trying to follow the cases, how many people get sick in the next 2 weeks. And if it's not super overwhelming, I'm going to look for a job. But if things get worse, I guess I'll just stay home for another few months. At this point, I know it's all about my baby, and anything I do for her. And the last step of my makeup is the Morphe lip gloss, and it's in suede color. Here we go, my makeup is ready. Usually it takes me like 5 to 10 minutes if I'm not talking to the camera. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I would love to hear your opinion about this subject. When is it the right time to have a baby? And your personal stories. I'm so happy to have this channel and be able to talk to other mamas. That's like my #1 priority. Don't forget to subscribe, give me some thumbs up, and see you next time. Bye!